Welcome to Promise of Plenty, a Flesh and Blood Sometimes podcast with me, Keith,
Very, very rarely, but
creator
sometimes.
of Madtown Hobby, and Nate, creator of a little site called talishar.net. I don't know if you've heard of it, but if you haven't, you need to try it out. Welcome to our very first show, podcast, whatever this thing we're going to call it is. And hopefully you get something out of our meandering thoughts on flesh and blood, on daily life, fitting in hobbies, games, along with family and all that we've got going on. So,
Don't forget the dad jokes. There will be dad jokes.
promise of plenty of dad jokes, plenty of rabbit trails meandering off, plenty of kids occasionally running in the room interrupting us. So, hopefully, if that's cool with you, then you'll love what we're about to do. Nate, welcome yourself. I appreciate you.
Hello, self. Welcome, self. See, plenty of dad jokes. Get them off hot right off the bat.
All right, since this is our first episode, Nate, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Nate. I am a software developer. I live in Wisconsin, which is pretty cool. I am a Flesh and Blood player. I've been playing for about a year and a half now. Going to armories, things like that. I really like casual sort of play a little bit more than the competitive side. So,
Hmm.
one of the things that I really like to do is just testing out decks that other people might not even think to test. If you've seen Talishar, you've probably seen the challenges or the commotions as we call them on there, where I usually try to highlight and encourage people to use a card that a lot of people might otherwise dismiss. And so that's a pretty good indication of my kind of play style for Flesh and Blood.
Perfect. I always rib you that you don't have enough time in the day to test all these cards, so you just casually made a whole website so everybody else can test them for you.
That's very true. What
And
about you, Keith? Where did your Flesh and Blood story start?
we actually live pretty close to each other, play at the same LGS, and our friends Kevin and Howard got me into the game. Man, year and a half ago as well, probably about the same time, and definitely more casual than competitive myself. And then I decided, hey, I've got all these extra cards, I might as well, try selling them, make some content, do all that stuff. So it's been a wild ride, and this show is an evolution of that, where the two of us just played a lot together and decided, hey, why don't we record some of these random thoughts and see if anybody else cares.
If you guys are here for in-depth, like pro level strategy, this is not the place.
Occasionally, it will pop up. Now,
It
we
may pop up.
we we did manage to land an interview with someone who actually plays the game seriously. Uh, the winner of the Moonwish commotion on Talishar. So we'll have that later for you. Yeah, Nate, tell me something not related to flesh and blood. What you're a
I'm
big gardener, aren't you?
I am a big gardener, and that will occasionally come up, I'm sure.
And then bringing it back to flesh and blood. I've heard you have an interesting project. You asked all of us in our group to save their paper wrappers from flesh and blood, and you're going to do something with them.
Yeah, so the goal eventually, once I get enough wrappers, is to just try to compost them and just kind of do an experiment and see how well they'll compost, and also if anything will in fact grow in them. Uh,
Not food, right?
so yeah, probably not food. I think I'm gonna do some like flowers or something, maybe like a sunflower. I'm a really big fan of sunflowers, so that's probably what I'll try to do. Um, the problem is I need a lot of wrappers. I think I've got about one case worth of wrappers right now. And I'm gonna guess I'm probably gonna need like 20 to 40 at least to actually be able to make a substantial amount of compost. I don't know if you guys have tried composting before, but it's a little bit like if you've ever tried to like stir fry greens or something. You know, you get this massive pile of greens and you throw them down in the pan and
Right,
then
right, right, right.
like
They
put them
just
down. It's just
reduce down. Yeah.
nothing left. Composting is very similar to that. You know, I've piled up a pile of compost 3 feet high, 3 feet across, and by the time everything is kind of said and done, it'll be maybe an inch or two at the bottom, right? So we're definitely going to need a few more paper wrappers, but I'm pretty excited to see the result of the experiment probably in the next like month or sorry, several years, I would guess.
Well,
But
I could tell
it's
you part of the
something.
reason you're not getting enough wrappers is Uprising is not selling as fast. You know, with a set where it was so focused on the limited experience, I'm sure there's plenty of wrappers, thrown away at stores, but it doesn't feel like everybody's really pushing to buy boxes since they started, the Fab 2.0 thing, and now you don't really have to race to get your first edition boxes if you're trying to be a collector and opening all that stuff up. There's dramatic decrease in what seems to be the number of boxes that are being opened like in mass openings, and it's more just a natural progression of people opening them at stores and in events as they go. More prize packs, a few packs at a time instead of whole
Yeah, I think
boxes.
I
Nope, I lost you.
I'm being a little bit more casual. I really like
Oh,
going
there you
and
go.
doing a draft or whatever. And oh, did you freeze?
Yeah, you froze up a second. Keep going.
So I really like that style. Just collect packs over time and go to like a limited and get 3 packs worth of stuff, and you just kind of build from there. I also really like foil cards, so I buy a lot of my foils as singles off of like TCG Player or Discord or whatever. Just because if you're looking for like a play set of common foils and rares, that would be kind of a lot of boxes. More than that approach.
Say now for some Flesh and Blood news. Dynasty on the way. Tell me, you have initial thoughts about this supplemental set, Nate?
I am very excited. I was a huge fan of Everfest. I think it did a lot of cool stuff with a lot of the class cards in particular. Um, some of the item cards were, a lot of people like to kind of pan those, but I like to think that they're going to see a use, and just being more of a kind of a casual player, kind of a crazy brewer kind of person. I personally was a pretty big fan of the item cards even, and so I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff that we come out with here in Dynasty.
Yeah, they definitely toned down the power level and made every item a little more unique. So in the future, balance is a little easier instead of you know uh, potion that gives you two resources. Like that's everybody could use that. That's great. Um, but an item that just lets you banish a card one time, that's not applicable to everybody, but could
I
be
I
in the
would
future.
argue. Yeah, it absolutely could be. I don't know if people would it work against Fi, do you know, like banishing their Phoenix Flame? I think the biggest challenge with that one is fulfilling the condition, because I think you have to play a card, or you have to play a card from your banish, is that right?
Um, I forget. Yeah. So it was like Levia versus Phi, right? You could have the ability to side that in if that's useful, but
I
that would
might have one
require
here.
Levia being, a lot more top tier.
I've got my stack of CF potions just like right here, right next to us,
There
so.
you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been having a lot of fun brewing around with them. There's already a couple of the Dynasty cards that I'm pretty excited about. In
Yes.
particular,
Speaking of
I
that,
think
that royal thing, the crown.
yeah, yes, that's the one I was gonna say. That one
Wow.
looked really nice. I don't know exactly what the Royal is gonna do, but to me, that's just kind of a bonus.
The gold token,
Um,
right? Like any card we've gotten so far that uses the copper, silver, gold, suddenly, especially like you're saying, the Everfest cards, um, it'll be a lot more options there.
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I was thinking about with that crown in particular was Cash In. I don't know if you remember that one from Crucible,
Right. Lets you
but
draw, spend in the gold.
it lets you spend the gold to draw two cards. And that is a really fascinating prospect to me. So there's a really similar combo with Mage Master Boots and Tome of Findall. I'm sure you've seen me play this one in armories
Yeah.
before, but the idea, so you pitch a blue, you crack your Mage Master Boots, and then you play your Tome of Findall from Arsenal. So you net one resource, but then you also gain 5 life, but it's card neutral because you pitched one, you played one.
Mhm.
Um, that's really strong if you've got, say, Earthlore Bounty that lets you also get Seismic Surge tokens off that. So this combo is potentially even better than that. It's not going to give you the life, but it's only going to cost you one card to draw two. And so once per game, you're basically just getting a free card, which is really strong.
Mhm.
And then, if you've got Earth Lore Bounty, that's just extra free value. You're going to get your two seismic surges.
Right.
So,
This
yeah,
piece on Valda with Earthlore Bounty, that'll be fun to explore.
I'm going to be explain. I actually, it's funny you say Valda because I just put a Valda deck together yesterday. It's a Sift Valda deck, so you
Right?
just run all the Sifts and you just keep cycling your hand back and making all the seismic surge tokens. Um, yeah, it was pretty fun. I had a moment where I accumulated 8 seismic surges, and then I played was it, do you remember the 14 damage one with Heave? Is it Pulverize or something like that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I played that one with a single pitch card, and the opponent was just like,
Yeah. Head down. What
really?
in Blitz? Ridiculous.
He
Ridiculous.
was like, "What just happened?" And it was really funny because he gave me some of those surges. Like he played Art of War, which because I was Valda, he drew
They
the
drew.
cards and
You
I
get
got
a. Yep.
extra surges.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a pretty wild and interesting deck. It definitely has some good matchups. So Crown of Dominion is definitely one to look out for, and it may end up on the Udi's value menu. I don't know if we've introduced that concept yet. I don't know, Keith. Do you want to?
Oh, so Nate and I play together, right? And so he's got a history of calling out the really good cards in Flesh and Blood before anybody else says they need to be banned or calls it out. Nate was on Belittle when that card was spoiled. Like it's the moment, and it's been there ever since. And so he's
It'll be. I think it'll be banned one. I still think it'll be banned one of these days. Eventually, it'll get there. It's too strong.
it is pretty strong. But you know they've taken your list of the most valuable cards. They've taken a few hacks at it so far. You if they take Promise of Plenty out, I'll riot. You know, since that's what we named the show.
That'll be so sad. But that wasn't. That's another one that's on the list. I think it's a very strong card.
Yeah, yeah.
The other dynasty spoilers are kind of interesting. I kind of think that like Imperial Warhorn, and then what is the new Guardian hero's name? Do you remember?
Let's see. I do have that picture up. That's Yoji.
Got you. Yeah, that one looks like it's not on the February spoilers just yet. But
So
those two cards, huh?
he's definitely got to be like a PVE
Yeah, I think
focused
it's like
hero,
yeah, PvE or UPF, and really I think Imperial Warhorn too. I don't think it's gonna see a lot of play in like constructed or blitz, but I think it's for a format that either UPF or PvE or just something that we haven't seen yet.
right?
Um, the gold token, I think, probably wouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's seen copper that lets you draw for 4 or silver that lets you draw for 3. Drawing two for or drawing a card for 2 is about what I would have expected. It's really strong, but I do think using it with something like cash in is probably going to be the way to go.
Oh
The
yeah,
other
yeah,
one, the other one to look out for, I think, is the Wizard Aura. That one I think is going to be really fun to play around with just because it lets you float resources between turns, and it also lets you get some interesting scaling off of something like I think it won't work with Ether Wildfire, but it will work with Forked Lightning. And just there sorry, were you gonna say something?
no, just like at the start of your turn, destroy it. And so
Yeah,
like
right.
the fact that it's red and it's more of a play on your turn, it's this is like feels like it was built for the new emperor who can only play reds and is a wizard warrior who's probably going to be doing things more on their turn.
Could be.
So it'll
Yeah,
be
I think
interesting
it
to see if like Icelander and Kano can take advantage of this.
I think Kano could, but it'd be a different style of deck, you know. It's more of one that wants to combo off on your turn.
Right,
I think it won't be like an Ether Wildfire focused Kano, which is the one that we see played most often today, I think. Because that one it only has its really strong effect when it's played on the opponent's turn, and so it just there really isn't any synergy with that new aura. What we could see is the resurgence back to the forked lightning style, where you kind of double your arcane buffs. I think that could potentially be really strong.
right, right. Cool. Well, when they come out with new Dynasty cards, check them out on Fabrary, a lovely new site. Yeah, I don't know how this site has grown so quickly, and the development is it's like Talishar. This site took off very quickly. And I'm loading it now to show that they are trying to map out the spoilers for Dynasty and the spoiler season. If it loads. So, when is Talishar gonna get a spoiler? You think?
I don't know.
Here it is. It loaded. So yeah, they've got the cards that have been revealed, and then the spoiler schedule available
I
as
think the
well.
spoiler schedule is really neat. That's something I always had a hard time keeping track of that. A lot of times people would just do it as like a spreadsheet or whatever, and then you'd have to go and hunt down the spreadsheet on Discord, and it was kind of tough. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
I'm really excited to see the actual schedule Because the other thing that's neat about this, I don't know if you have it up, but they've actually got links to
Yeah.
where the thing is going to be spoiled, and so you can actually like keep an eye out for it. And that's
Yeah,
something
because a
that
lot
at
of
least,
people like where they are going to post a spoiler. It can be very confusing between Twitter, YouTube, or on their own website.
yeah, that I really struggled with that in past sets, and so I'm excited to hopefully with Dynasty be able to kind of follow along more real time instead of like just waiting for people to take a low quality screenshot and post it on Discord. So
Right.
yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Cool. All right, so let's get to our interview. The Talishar.net challenge most recently was put 6 moon wishes in your deck, which looked like something that would be a little difficult to pull off. So someone did. So we met our friend Alex from Austria, and here's our interview with him. Hey, everybody, we're here with our guest, Alex from Austria. This month's winner, or how often do you do those competitions now? Well, he won the Moonwish competition on Talishar, putting everybody else to shame. Was it 50 wins? With a
52.
52 wins
52,
with
please.
a with a
Very, those
60% win
extra two
rate.
are very important.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we thought we'd bring him on to talk about the deck and these fun challenges that Talishar puts out. Thanks to Nate here and his evil brain, trying to see what people can cook up with.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's an honor to be here.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, we're excited to hear about it. Just to start off, what was your motivation for competing in the Moonwish Challenge?
So that's a very good question. It's actually so I played the Pro Tour like a month ago, and then my nationals like a few weeks after. Did terrible in both, like 2-5 the Pro Tour, lost in my quarters with my very small nationals. And I was thinking about like whenever I play Flesh and Blood, I just play to prepare for an event. It's like very competitive. Like I just play the meta decks, try to figure out what the best deck is, right? But then I was sitting there after nationals. I was like, well, there's no event coming up now. Like there's nothing in my calendar. So I just wanna kind of play the game for fun and learn more about the game because I'm still pretty new. I just started this April, and so I could log on Talisha and I see this Moonwish challenge, and it's like, well, this is perfect. I'm just gonna go deep on this. Yeah, that was my motivation to play this.
Can you share what your record was with everybody?
My record of what?
Or the how many wins did you get?
Oh, so I got 52 wins with Moonwish. I think I had a 61.7% win rate. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. There were a lot of people these past few weeks testing, new things for nationals, and I bet they did not expect to see Moonwishes pop up.
Yeah, I don't know if they would be practicing Blitz for nationals. There was like one Blitz nationals in Malaysia, I think, but yeah,
I think
sorry, I only played in Blitz. I only played Moonwish Briar in Blitz.
I,
Okay.
Don't think
Okay.
it's that good in CC.
I
More of a,
think I might have been one of your wins, by the way, because I definitely lost to a Moonwish deck.
yeah, I think I remember us playing. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that was very fun. You mentioned that it was a Briar deck. Why Briar? Or like, how did you approach the deck building process for this challenge?
so when I saw the Moonwish challenge, it was the first time I saw the card Moonwish, so I had to read it, and I was like, when I first read the card, I didn't really realize it doesn't have Go again on itself. So at first I thought it was pretty good, and then I read the card, and then I realized, wow, this is just awful. Like, you play the card, but you lose your action point. How do you even play the Sun Kiss? So
Right. Right.
obviously, the answer very quickly becomes, well, you need to play Briar to get Embodiment of Lightning. And the other good solution is Spellbound Creepers. So if you attack with your Moonwish, it connects. You can activate your Spellbound Creepers and play the Sun Kiss and gain your action point back. Draw a card. So that's how I came to Briar. You need to play a Runeblade because you need Spellbound Creepers. They're essential for the card. And Embodiment of Lightnings are pretty good with Moonwish.
I feel like you're already jumping ahead to one of my next questions, which is what are the best lines of play? But that's okay. Um, Keith, are you able to bring the deck up so we can
Yep,
just kind
I
of
switched
talk
to
it
a
through?
view. I've got the deck up, showing it on the screen here. Clicks.
So, one thing I noticed about this deck, sorry, is it up, Keith?
Yep, yep.
I noticed you've got two blue Sunkiss and one red. Can you kind of speak to how you landed on the number of Sunkiss that you did?
So at first I always played 2 blues because I never want to draw a red Sunkiss. It's just not a good card to play on its own. So my thought process was like, well, if there are 2 blues, they're still pretty fine to just pitch. And the red one is the one I want to like search if my Moonwish connects. And like a 3 life total swing is actually pretty big. Like I underestimated how good that is.
Right,
In
in
just
Blitz.
2 more
Yeah.
life compared to the blue. Yeah, especially in Blitz. Like it's a very big life total swing. And another interesting point is it's not that bad to have a lot of Sunkiss in your deck, because if you play a Moonwish and you just have a Sunkiss in your hand already, you can still just play it, even if your Moonwish doesn't connect. Because Sunkiss just says you need to have played a Moonwish this turn. So like even multiple Sunkisses is not the worst. Like, still pretty good.
So I'm curious, you played quite a few games with this deck. Did you ever find yourself drawing that red Sunkiss on turn 0?
Oh
Or
yeah,
even the
definitely.
blues? So how did
Definitely
that feel?
Well, the blue, at least you can pitch it, right? The red, yeah, pretty awful.
Well,
Like,
on turn 0 though, like, so
I mean,
like
yeah,
let's say you're on the play.
you
How
can
often
play
did
it.
that come up? I'm just curious.
Uh, yeah, sometimes for sure. Just gain 3 life. It doesn't feel great because then it's not in your deck anymore. You can't search it for your future
Yeah,
moon wishes.
that's
It's
interesting.
okay. It
So
yeah.
you didn't like drawing it on turn 0, but like if you were playing first?
No, I didn't like drawing them.
Interesting.
I'd rather do some other stuff like play 2 non-attacks to make an embodiment, set up
That's fair.
you're,
some stuff in my arsenal. Yeah.
you're getting a little peek into Nate's mind. He's always all about
I
Blitz.
love
You
those
know,
in
Blitz is all
Blitz.
about the first 3 turns, right? So
It's all about those cheeky turn 1 plays for me. I really love doing that kind of stuff. The other thing I'm a little surprised by in here was the Tome of Harvest. Can you explain some of maybe what was the thought process behind including that? What did it do for this deck?
Uh, well, it's kind of just an Earth blue, but then also I kind of think of this deck as a combo deck. Um, which I don't know if I should get into that right now or later. But basically, I'm either trying to find some of the Earthflow Surges and the 2-cost attack is what I'm trying to find always. So if for some reason my first hand is really bad, I just Arsenal or something and then try to draw 3 cards with the Tome of Harvest. But it's mostly just there as an Earth Blue, I'd say. I didn't really care about blocking too much. I don't mind that it's a 2-block. I'm never blocking with this deck anyway. So
right,
yeah, it's just there as an Earth Blue.
it's Briar. You just go.
Yes.
So I think you mentioned it was a combo deck. I think that's a good time. Let's go into it. What makes it a combo deck, or what
Okay.
is the combo that we're digging for here?
So this is the combo I discovered probably like 30 games into this Moonwish journey. Because at first I was just playing like a normal Earth Briar with like 0-cost attacks. I played Spring Tunic as my chest and like Grasp of the Arknight as my arms. But then I faced a Briar player who used Skeletor, like Bloodchief Skeletor. And I was like, oh my god, I forgot this card is not banned in Blitz. Like this is amazing. It's just a 2-block and then a 1-block.
Right.
That was the first thing I thought. It's just great to block with. But then I remembered from playing Blitz Viscerai, the combo of Vexing Quillhand and Bloodchief Skeletor is really good. It makes it so your next non-attack and your next attack costs 2 resources less. And then, very luckily, Moonwish costs 2 resources.
Oh, there you go.
So I put those 2 cards in my deck, the Vexing Quillhand and the Bloodchief Skeletor. And then I thought, well, what's the best way to use these 4 free resources again? And then I came to the Earthflow Surges. So I put in all the Earthler Searches, the red, the yellows, and the blues. And that's kind of the combo. You try to pop your equipments, play an Earthler Search, play a 2-cost attack, which would be Moonwish in my deck, or Stir the Wildwood is another good one. Stir the Wildwood is actually pretty good in this deck because it's a 2 cost for a 5 attack. If you've dealt arcane damage, it gets +2, which is very convenient with the Vexing Cool Hand. You make 2 rune chants,
Right.
play the Stir the Wildwood for free. Probably one of the rune chants will connect, and then it's already for 7. And if you have another Earth card in hand, you can get it up to 9.
Right.
So off of 0 resources, you suddenly play a 9 damage attack. If you have a red Earthler Surge, suddenly it becomes a 9 + 5, a 14 damage attack. 2 cards, 14 damage, just off my equipment, which I found amazing. And that's kind of the idea behind the combo. Play 2-cost cards of the arms and the chest for free.
And see, this is what I was telling Nate, is you built a really good deck that could win with or without Moonwish, so that helped.
I mean,
Hey.
that is true, but also like playing Earthler Surge into Moonwish is pretty strong. It just comes in for 9. Like, people are not happy to block 9, and then you get to Spellbound Creepers, the Sun Kiss, you get an Embodiment of Lightning, you draw a card, it's just all great from there
Right.
once the Moonwish connects.
I'm really glad we had this conversation though, because for whatever reason I had never put together that like combo idea between Vexing Cool Hand and Bloodsheath Skeleta.
Yeah.
Did you ever? How important was Mount Heroic to your deck? Have we talked about Mount Heroic yet?
Yeah, we haven't talked. Yeah, it's still also just a Channel Mount
What's
Heroic
so
deck, which,
funny, Keith?
Oh
like,
boy.
Channel Mount Heroic is still just a great card. Like, it's so good.
It's one of
when you
Nate's
can play it
favorite
turn
cards in the
1.
whole game.
That's
Yeah.
another one of my favorite cards. Yeah, that's why Keith is laughing.
Yeah.
I should have got my pile of Mount Heroics, but anyway, sorry. Yeah, continue. So, why the Mount Heroic? How important was that to
I
this
mean,
deck?
it's just a really good card. It's a good turn 1 play. You can even sometimes play that instant speed with Spellbound Creepers. Just an amazing card. Yeah, I wouldn't play Briar without it, I think. It's
Did you
essential to the deck.
ever did you ever consider? So, did you ever play Mount Heroic with the Skeleta discount?
Oh yeah, that can come up as well, where you then only pay 1 for the Channel Mount Heroic. That's also very good. Definitely something I did a lot as well.
Wow.
Or potentially, you could even pay 0 if you got Grasp. Oh no, you can't because you can't have
Yeah.
Grasp and Vexing, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we equip 2 arms? We have 2 arms, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another. I
Being
think
a-
I forgot to mention
Go ahead.
when I realized this is a combo deck, because it's actually really easy to threaten 20 damage in 1 turn with this deck. I decided to put in Hope Merchant's Hood as my headpiece. There was a little inspiration from the Visceral Blitz deck back in the day. There was also just like a 1-turn combo deck. Because you just try to find either the 2-cost attack or the Earthler Surge. I even pop it quite often on turn 1, maybe to find a Plunder Run to put into Arsenal. I just think if you have a very like combo-y Blitz deck, you should definitely run Hope Merchant's Hood every time. It's a very powerful tool to have in your deck.
This is a fascinating deck. I feel like I could ask a question about like every card in here. So, Shock Charmers, is that just something that you were like testing out, or where did that come
I
in? Is
mean,
that sideboard in just for the Spell Void?
yeah, it's just Volcano. And
Okay.
even then, I'm still not sure if that's the right thing to do. If you should just threaten the kill on like turn 0,
Right,
like
yeah.
that could be correct. You just try to pass, Kano does something, and then you just kill them.
Right.
But
More
since in
gas.
Split
Yeah.
you have like 11 equipment slots, so you might as well put in all the Null Rune or the AV you can have.
I think Vexing Cool Hand having AB is really handy.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean you lose the AV when you decide to pop the Vexing Cool Hand.
Well, but then
Which
he's
can
probably
be
going to be
risky.
dead that turn anyway, right? So,
Yeah, very true. Very true.
That's the give and
speaking
take.
of Speaking of like being dead that turn, like did you have many OTKs or
Oh,
like what was the
yes.
most damage that you ever threatened in one turn? Do you know?
Ooh, I could dig for some screenshots. I think it like some 36 damage turns, some 40 damage turns. It can definitely get really crazy if you have like a Channel Mount Heroic turn 1, and then on your turn 2 you play like a Force of Nature. You just play a bunch of attacks. This deck is really great at creating action points with the creepers, with making embodiment of lightnings. You can have like a very tall and wide turn with this deck. But what
How
most often
often?
ends up happening, you threaten like around 20 damage. They have to block. They use their hands to block, and then you just close out the game with Rosetta Thorn. It's what happens most of the time.
And so how often
Yeah.
would you say you got the Force of Nature to land or like to combo off? Was that pretty common or is it more rare?
I'd say it was pretty common. I feel like the way I used Force of Nature most of the time was, so I would go for my Earthler Surge +2 cost attack line, and then I would play the Force of Nature at instant speed. I wouldn't really look to like play the Force of Nature first, fuse it, and then attack. I would more look to do it at instant speed as like a combat trick, I'd say,
And
to
then you
draw an extra
know that
card.
they're not going to block it out, basically, and so it kind of
Yes.
cantrips, and then it just continues threatening. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah,
I think
like,
that just illustrates how crazy Spellbound Creepers is in my
yeah.
mind.
I
I'm
think
just
it's
trying
the
to.
most powerful piece of equipment in the game.
What? Hey,
You
now
say
I
that a
might.
lot for Runeblade items there.
They're
That
also just insanely fun to play with, but I do
that
think it's absurdly powerful.
that Skeleta is glaring at you right now.
Yeah, like, if you know anything about card games, creating free resources or mana in other card games is always insanely powerful. And you just
That
having that every game, like every game you create 4 free resources, right? It's just there every game. It's
that
just absurdly
Skeleta just
powerful.
drove me crazy when, like, right before that got banned. I was just getting tired of it because that's what a lot of people in our locals were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OTK Viz.
It'd be
Yeah.
very frustrating because, I'd be playing like Axe Dory or something like that, and I'd be at like 30 health, and they'd be down at like 5, and they just combo off, and they take my entire hand, and then I'd be at like 3 life, just all in one turn. I was like, no.
Yeah. It's insanely powerful.
So it's very powerful. Yeah, I would say Skeleta is definitely up there in terms of power level. The other one I like a lot is Stalagmite. I think that one would be a contender for Spellbound Creepers because if you can put in that frostbite at the right moment, you can really brick some people's turns.
Oh,
But I mean, that's
defensively.
probably
Yeah.
huh?
Stalagmite adding the
The
frostbite.
frostbite. Yeah, I love that card. Okay, that's a whole other topic. All right, Keith, that's next week's podcast. It's just all about Stalagmite.
I'm a big Stalagmite fan as well. When I won my Pro Quest, I played Stavo, and I didn't even register Rampart because I just played aggro Stavo. I just was like, Stalagmite is just the way to go.
Yeah, there's
Big
just so
fan.
much possible value. And the thing I really like about it is it really rewards knowing in depth what your opponent wants to do. So if you
Yeah,
know all the kind of lines that are in their deck and you know what are the resource kind of breakpoints for that kind of deck, you can really set them back disproportionately. You might think, oh, a frostbite, that's only one resource, which is like 1 point of value, so to speak, right? But sometimes that one resource costs them a whole extra card. Sometimes they don't have that extra card, right? Like
yeah,
if they were floating one for Rosetta, that might
exactly.
be 4 value right there, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that
But
was
anyway,
really
so
common to come up with Stavo versus Chain. Like back in that meta, that was a really common
yeah,
line to come up
oh,
with,
I know,
denying a
yeah.
Rosetta. Really
All
important.
right, Alex. Nate could talk about this thing all day, but we don't want to take
I'm
up
here for it.
Let's
don't want
back
to take
on
up your
track.
whole day. Uh,
I
but
have
I have
time.
a question for you.
Yeah.
If you could pick the next challenge for Talishar, what would you pick?
Oh wow. That's really difficult. I don't know that many Flesh and Blood cards. The only sets I saw were Everfest and Uprising. Ooh. Next challenge. I feel like it could be interesting. Well, I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but if we had a challenge that's like very broad, where it's actually just a race for who can get the most wins, that could be very interesting. Where it's not that that limited to a certain deck archetype. Maybe a commoner challenge, just who can get the most wins in commoner would be very interesting, because commoner is a cool format, I think, and it's very hard to like see what the meta is like in commoner.
Right, it's
So
underplayed.
maybe
Yeah.
if there's like an incentive of a leaderboard, there doesn't even need to be a big incentive. Just a leaderboard for me is enough. Like I just love a ladder.
Yeah.
That would probably make me go deep on commoner, and I would love to see that.
All right, great. All right, thanks for coming out, talking to us about the deck. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing you on Talishar, running up against you. Hopefully, retire the Moonwish deck, okay?
No, don't retire it.
So, I think I'm not gonna say the deck is insanely powerful. It's fun, it's good. But Moonwish is definitely now my favorite Flesh and Blood card by far. Like before that, I didn't have a favorite card, and now Moonwish is just all that I care about. I ordered all the foils, all the foil Sun Kisses as well. So I want to
Were
try
they
it.
first edition though? Are they first edition?
No, I don't got money like that.
I saw
Just wait.
you changed your
That was me
Discord
at first
picture
too,
to
but
Moonwish.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, well, you have a good rest of the day, and thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
All right. Wow, Nate, that was a great interview.
thank you. Thanks to Alex.
Yeah, good luck to him in future official tournaments and things in Austria. Man, it is wild the reach this game has worldwide. All right, Nate, let's wrap this up. What do you got coming up this week?
Talishar development, obviously. I think I might be brewing a Moonwish deck now.
He gave you some good ideas.
I feel inspired. I think Briar isn't something that I had considered before. I tried, I think, like Kano and Azalea and Oldhim. I think my thought for Moonwish was more, tutor up the Sunkiss and then use some kind of alternative way to convert that into like a real card. So like for Azalea, you might tutor it up, arsenal it, and then next turn you can use her ability to just cycle it back onto your deck and draw a card. That was a concept I had played around with. I think Briar just seems to be a natural fit for Moonwish and
Dude,
Sunkiss.
Runeblade with the boots, but Briar with the lightning is just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving that card Go Again. It turns out Go Again is very good.
Who knew?
Great.
I never would have guessed from living through the chain meta and all that other stuff. So.
All right. So, thanks everybody hanging out with us. Nate and I have Twitter accounts somewhere. I'll post them in the video notes. We're going to put up a Patreon for this show, the Promise of Plenty. There'll be a link for that as well. And tell your friends, like and subscribe, come hang out, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.